following announcement has been paid for by the
Mark Order. Welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast. If you haven't already, please give us a subscribe, press the like button, and leave a comment down below about your thoughts on last night's Dynamite. Join us in the Discord if you want to become an Elite Mark. I'm Cosmic Scott, that's JayV, and tonight we're going to talk about Dynamite from June 7th, 2023. And let's talk about that top match. Let's talk about OC versus Swerve. My God, what a match those two put on. OC continues to tell the story of his hand, of his back, of his leg. All these injuries are building up and building up and building up. And he's getting to a point where eventually he's going to lose, but he's still getting those desperation wins. My God, there were spots I didn't think the inside the ring out DDT, that was just killer. What did you think of the match, Jay? I thought it was just one of the best I've seen.
As I had mentioned during our Double or Nothing review, Orange versus Swerve was kind of like the match that we didn't know we wanted to see. Mm-hmm. And when we saw them square off at the Double or Nothing Battle Royal, we were like, holy shit, these guys are awesome together. So it wasn't really anything anyone was talking about, but man, it is a great matchup. And of course it is, because both Swerve and Orange are just incredible wrestlers in the ring with unique move sets and just both incredibly skilled. I loved the match. I think it was one of the best matches in Dynamite history. It was outstanding. It has an 8+ rating on Cage Match, which is excellent from the harsh critics over there. Really enjoyed it. You know, as you mentioned, Scott, the Orange continues to tell the story of his injury. So not only is his hand taped up, not only is his back taped up, but now he's got medical tape on the top of his back, on his shoulders. Yeah. He is selling the story of his injuries as he continues to be a fighting champion, and he's selling it beautifully. Just some of the spots in that match that I thought were incredible. You know, Swerve gave Orange a Death Valley driver on the hard part of the apron. Orange had an incredible Papa Hurricane Rana reversal that it was just outstanding.
You can hear in your voice how you just can't even describe what he's doing in the ring sometimes. Yeah, the two of them together have a chemistry, and what I hope to see, as I'll let you get back, is an actual feud that continues with these guys, because I want to see more.
Yeah, definitely want to see more of these two guys going at it. Swerve really worked the hand. You know, he was banging Orange's hand against the post. He was stomping on it. And just some of the other spots that I loved was Orange hits the Orange Punch, and then he followed that with Beach Break, and Swerve kicks out.
Yeah,
and you know, you're like, wait a minute, that's Orange's two big moves: his signature, his finisher, back to back. But when Orange goes for the cover, he's shaking his hand. He can't hook the leg properly to get the win. And again, that's just more that feeds into the stories that they're telling. I loved how Swerve rolled out of the ring to recover after that false finish. And then, you know, as Orange got lured outside the ring, Swerve hits him with a spinning fucking brainbuster outside the ring, throws him in the ring. The crowd's going bonkers, chanting AEW.
Yeah.
Swerve hits his house call, which is his single leg drop kick to the back of the head, which is one of the most awesome looking moves you'll ever see. And then he hits the Swerve stomp off the top rope. I'm like, holy shit, we got a new champion.
I sold. Nope. I bet. I was like, are you kidding me? This is it. This is happening. Nope.
And Swerve goes for the JML driver, and we get a triple reversal into the finish, and Orange gets the win. Just a phenomenal matchup. It doesn't get much better than this, especially on a match that's on free TV. Just a good build up for this with the starting at the Battle Royal. Excellent program all around. Outstanding.
Yeah. There's and quite honestly, there's got to be more to this. Lawyer Scott in the chat brought up the fact that OC's been able to elevate everybody he's been against. And in this case, not only did he elevate Swerve, Swerve elevated him because they're that good together. I thought that's a really great point, Scott. So, yeah, together those two really are working well. There's got to be another match of theirs. Maybe next week. Maybe there's some shenanigans coming up, and maybe they fight at the next big Forbidden Door, I guess is their next big pay-per-view name.
Yep.
That would be weird that Swerve would fight him at Forbidden Door for it, though.
After the match, Mogul Embassy came out. So Brian Cage and a couple of the other guys, and they were pounding on Orange. Sting and Darby came out. So I'm thinking we'll get a 6-man where it'll be Sting, Darby, and Orange against the Embassy. That could be a match on Dynamite possibly next week. But yeah, there's definitely more to come with these guys. I would say it's a 4.5 star match. Just
4.5 easy out of 5. Yeah, it was phenomenal. It had story coming in, going out. There's more to it. There's a lot of meat left on that bone, and I'm excited to see where it goes. You were saying that there's probably going to be a big 6-man. Yeah, because after the match there was that big beatdown. There was the lights out spot. When it came back, it was Sting. It was Darby. They made the save. The Embassy had to back off. Where were the best friends? Well, they literally had the next match. So I had to forgive them for not coming out for the save because they had their hands full. Now, we'll get into that in a second, but 4.5 for the match overall, I think, is a very, very honest attribution because, quite honestly, there's not a whole lot left that they could improve on with how good they are together. I think a few more matches, and we're going to see some of the best we've ever seen. Now, I did want to move on to the spot of the week. This week's spot is brought to you by our sponsor, Booking.com. Don't forget, you can find amazing deals for all your flights, hotels, and car rentals when you go to All In at Wembley Stadium coming up in London, England. Be sure to use the link in the description down below and save. Now on to the actual spot of the week. For me, this week, it was during the Hook versus El Perro, El Perro, whatever his name is, the dangerous dog, Preston Vance from Los Facciones Nobles. Man, those Spanish names are killing me, and I grew up in the Southwest. The spot itself was Hook hitting Vance directly in the head with a chain. And what it looked like to me was breaking him open hard way. Now, the camera did turn away, so he might have bladed, but if he bladed, he did a New Jack job because it started bleeding, gushing blood. It turned it into a bloodbath and turned the entire match around and made it better than it actually had a right to be. Not only did everybody look good, Hook, green as possible, looked amazing in that match, even coming up with the big finish. But the spot itself was that big punch. It looks like Vance took a little bit of umbrage and started to pound him in the head against the railing as a bit of a receipt. So I think that's kind of where that came from. There may be more to come from this particular feud. What was your spot of the week, Jay?
So before I get to mine, I want to talk about yours. When Hook wrapped that chain around his fist and jumped off the railing and swung at Vance, you could hear the thud. Like he smacked him pretty good. Like that was a rough shot. And they did cut away, so we can all assume that Vance did the blade job, but he may not have had to, and we'll never know. So unless he tells us in a shoot interview. But yeah, Vance was gushing blood. There was blood everywhere. There was blood all over Hook. There was blood all over Jungle Boy. And I guess I'm jumping a little ahead on here, but that was just a phenomenal match. My spot of the week is also from this match. I had to go with
surprise.
I had to go with the T-Bone Tazplex that Hook gave to Vance off the apron through the table. It was. Oh, I also did want to mention, going back to your spot. Sorry, jumping around a little bit here, but I thought the receipt that Vance gave to Hook was when he gave him that discus lariat on the outside.
That too.
That was about as hard as you could discus lariat someone. So
He did
I'm
not
sure,
pull at all. That match
No.
got stiff.
No, I'm sure Hook is still feeling that. So yeah, back to the T-Bone Tazplex. And again, I you know, the blood that was involved in this spot and that you could see in the camera, and then just the move. Jungle Boy, you know, jumps across the ring and smashes Vance in the head with a chair shot. I mean, you still these days you don't see many chair shots to the head, but that was one. Vance got his hands up and protected himself, fortunately. But it was enough to give Hook the opening to hit that suplex on the outside through the table. It was a good bump. Taz called it a modified T-Bone Tazplex, and I thought it was pretty sick. And just the way the two were laying on the ground, kind of trying to figure out which way was up after taking that spill through the table, I thought was pretty cool. And that is my spot of the week.
Now, absolutely an amazing match. That's why both spots of the week come from it. The fact is, he put Preston through the table, and that wasn't the finish because inside it was Hook finishing off Drew Listico. We didn't even talk about those guys, primarily because that really wasn't the focus of the match, nor should it have been. That really was just the backbone of what was going on. Anyways, so as we move,
just to add to this, why don't we just finish covering this match now?
Sure,
that way we don't need to revisit it. I would certainly, this was, when I saw this match was booked, I'm like, this is going to be flat. It's Hook's going to go out and get an easy win. He's going to choke someone out. It'll probably be a short match. No, we got a bloodbath. Again, it wasn't the longest match. What did this even how much time did this match?
I didn't actually notice that it took a long time because it got violent really fast.
It only went 9 minutes, but it was definitely one of the more memorable 9-minute matches in AEW history.
It really took a turn, like I said, after my spot of the week, when he hit him right in the head with that chain, and he did a Superman punch like he wasn't fucking around. He threw himself and literally nailed him. That's why Vance, yes, he stiffed him with the clothesline, but he threw him against that rail immediately after, really goddamn hard and straight on his head. So I was like, oh my God, Vance is pissed. And the rest of the match, he was fighting with vigor. He was out to fucking punish Hook. And Hook took it. I was like, he did. Wow. Hook's doing a really good job. Yeah.
He did not look green, other than maybe hitting Vance a little too hard. Other than that, he did not look green at all in this match. He looked like he belonged.
Yeah.
I love Texas Tornado matches, especially when there's hardcore elements. It reminds me of ECW back in 95, 96, when every tag team match in ECW was basically this. It wasn't named a Texas Tornado match, but you had the Gangsters versus the Pitbulls versus Public Enemy, and it was just total chaos the whole time. I loved it. I loved seeing Jungle Boy walking around all in black, acting like a badass, hitting people in the head with chairs. Like, that was fucking awesome. This is the kind of stuff that Jungle Boy needs to elevate his character. It's like in some of our videos,
he was also pulling at the mask.
He did. Yeah, he did.
That's full heel right there. That's messed up going after a luchador's mask.
That's right. And that's what Jungle Boy needs. He needs more personality. He needs to be more of a badass. And I even want to reference like some of our YouTube videos, like the Jungle Boy spot that you made, like that has more comments than any other of our videos, and it's all mostly people shitting on Jungle Boy. It's like he really needs some help with his character, and I think if they go this direction with him, that it's going to really help.
Yeah, the fact you brought up the comments, and I certainly welcome additional comments about Jungle Boy. He seems pretty polarizing to some of our audience. The fact is, he took a really nasty move from Roosh, also from Los Fascion Grenoble, from LFI. And I wonder...
Affection Ingobernable.
Yeah, I know, the Ungovernables. I can actually speak Spanish. It doesn't sound like it when I say their name because it's a bunch of rocks in my mouth, but
Just say
I'll
it.
work
Just
on
say
it.
LFI.
Right. So Roosh is part of LFI, as is Vance and Drew Listico. So maybe there was a little bit of that built up feud heat that was coming from Jungle Boy. Either way, he does look a lot darker. There seems to be a heel turn imminent, and it makes him much more interesting because, like last week, it was like, is he going to hit him? Is he not going to hit him? Is he going to hit him? Is he not going to hit him? This week, it was pretty solid. He wasn't going to hit anyone, but at the same time, you were like, definitely darker. Did some heel shit. So there's a lot of foreshadowing. I think we call that story and character. I happen to like it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, give me more of these Texas Tornado matches.
Yeah.
Give me more blood. Like, this was awesome. This was like
it did a lot.
style shit, and I fucking loved it. I thought it was great.
It did a lot for everybody involved. Top to bottom, it helped everyone. And you can't ask for a better match as a result. Let's go ahead and move on to we've already covered the beginning of Orange Cassidy match. So Danielson comes out and joins commentary. And then they do a package on Okada. And, Danielson's there during commentary for the entire match, talking up his guys and talking up his match with Okada. I love Danielson. Anytime you can get him on the microphone, I think is a win. You get into the actual match itself. It was his guys, the Blackpool Combat Club versus Chaos. Trent, Chuck, which I know is one of your favorites, and Rocky Romero. And it was not much of a match, unfortunately. It did not go well.
Really?
For Chaos.
Hey. Oh, okay. I thought it was better than I expected. I thought it was good. Let's jump back to I don't know if you're planning on circling back, but let's talk about Danielson versus Okada.
Feel free.
I mean, so when they were in Vegas, Danielson apparently went out hiking in the desert and cut that promo about how there's no rain in the desert and there's no rainmaker. It was an excellent promo that showed at Dominion after Okada's matchup against BCC, and I'm going to Forbidden Door and was definitely not expecting Danielson versus Okada. I mean, I booked Forbidden Door at great expense since it's the day after my wedding because I wanted to see whoever Kenny fought. Kenny wasn't at Forbidden Door last year, and I was like, I'm not going to miss it again if I have an opportunity. And I did have an opportunity with it only being a 90-minute drive from my house. So, and also the Toronto airport is how you get to Europe when you live in Buffalo. So, it was just amazing that it worked out. And to get this match, to get Danielson versus Okada, are you fucking kidding me? Yeah. I mean, Okada is probably on just about every top 10 list for the greatest wrestlers ever. And so is Daniel Bryan. So to get these two guys to have their first match when they're both in really good shape, they're both healthy right now. Tony is not putting Daniel Bryan out there. I keep calling him Daniel Bryan. Someday I'll stop doing that. Tony is not putting Danielson in, rough matches right now. He's preserving him for the big shows this summer and Forbidden Door. And thank God, because I cannot wait to see Danielson versus Okada. I think it's going to be one of the greatest matches of all time. And I just can't wait. And I don't care if it's a non-finish, like if it goes to a time limit. It doesn't matter who wins, but just to see two of the greatest ever, period, going at it one-on-one for the first time at Forbidden Door is amazing. Major props to Tony, and I can't wait.
I will admit the name Okada carries some weight. And Danielson has worked very hard in his career to get to a point where he is considered at a similar level to Okada, who is called a once-in-a-lifetime performer, who is so good He is the gold standard across multiple continents as the best in the world. No matter what anybody else says their title is, best of the world, GOAT, greatest of all times, best at what I do. Doesn't matter what it is. Okada is voted pretty much across the board the best. The only argument is somebody like Danielson. And you're right, regardless of the outcome, this will be a phenomenal match. And I'm glad that you're right. Tony somehow put this Forbidden Door thing together. Last year, we got denied Danielson. And you're right, he's saving him. Putting him on commentary. Letting him be the mouthpiece for the BCC is great. So that Danielson goes in and can just perform to the best of his ability against one of the best. So, yeah. I'm not nearly as excited as you are. You're going to be there live. And you get to see Kenny versus Will Ospreay. You get to see a lot of other really good matches. So I would say I'm jealous, but you have to go to Canada to do that. So I'll be okay staying here in Arizona.
Yeah, so it's just crazy that Kenny Ospreay is not the match I'm looking forward to. It's like, you know, my wrestling fandom, like a large percentage of that is Kenny Omega. Like he is what got me back into wrestling as a rabid fan. He is the one who got me going to events again and traveling. Like Kenny's really the first guy to get me to travel to events. I think, well, other than like, you know, WrestleManias, you know, ever, but it's like, and he's not even the top match on the show. It's just awesome. So I think we should move on instead of talking about this match.
Forbidden Door is in the future. Well,
but
we're not quite there yet. But our shows tend to go a bit longer when it's you and I. I wonder why that is. We both have a lot to say. All right. So obviously Blackpool Combat Club won. They beat the hell out of Chaos. Chaos tried to jump them before the bell to get an advantage. That didn't work. So after the match, after they win, Yuta beat the holy bejesus out of, I think it was Rocky. I thought there was a pretty fucking amazing spot that involved Trent doing a backflip from the second rope to the outside into Claudio, and Claudio uppercutted him and knocked him out of his fucking shoes. I was like, he did a backflip and Claudio I couldn't believe it happened. I had to rub my eyes, rewind it a couple times and watch that. I cannot believe they pulled that off somehow. And it's not the spot of the night for me, though.
Yeah, it was definitely a great spot. I thought at that point, it was going to be the spot of the night. I'm like, yeah, that's probably going to be it. You know, it was perfectly timed. There was a lot of impact. Poor Trent. He puts himself through a lot. He had that neck fusion surgery, whatever. I don't know, like a year and a half ago. I really hope he gets a title. I would love to see Best Friends win the title. I mean, if you give the title to the fucking Guns, you got to put the tag titles on the Best Friends at some point, please.
Well, it would be great if they could do it right about now, because Orange is a champion, Statlander's a champion, they could be champions. They could be subtly, low-key, a dominant force.
And Rocky Romero could beat MJF for the heavyweight title.
I think you're on drugs.
Or maybe not.
I think you're on drugs if you think Rocky's going to beat MJF for the title, but you're welcome to your thought.
Sarcasm.
As insane as it is.
So just a couple more comments from me on this match. There were three spots I wanted to point out quickly. I loved the ambush at the beginning on Yuta. I thought was great. It was like, you know, Best Friends are going to get smoked, so they have to play dirty. They have to go all out at the beginning to hope to try to get a quick win. And they beat the shit out of Yuta. There was a superplex, and Chucky T hit him with a nasty pile driver.
Yeah.
I thought it would have been great. I thought Chucky T should have gone over him there. It would have shocked the world. But, you know, BCC has to keep their momentum going. Rocky Romero did hit a gorgeous flying arm breaker on Moxley. Mox worked it perfectly. I loved that. I love that leaping arm breaker. It was always one of my favorite moves in the No Mercy game to give my character. Hopefully, it's available in Fight Forever, so I can tap all you guys in the Elite Mark Order chat with it.
As long as there's crossplay. If there's no crossplay, we're fucked.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Otherwise, we'll all have to pick a system and say everyone in the Elite Mark Order is required to have this platform. Hey, we all got PCs probably, right?
Well, we're getting paid Tony bucks, so we're getting the big bucks here.
And the last spot I'll bring up that I thought was notable was at the end of the match. Mox choked out Romero and for the win, but Yuta was going berserk on Chuck Taylor. Like he was fucking elbowing him, and elbow, and Danielson says, "Well, this is what he gets for attacking Yuta before the match started. He's getting his comeuppance," and Brian was right. So I enjoyed that match. It was better than I expected. Best friends got some of their shit in. And good stuff. I really enjoyed the match.
Quite honestly, they got a lot more in than we expected, and that's all we can hope for when you face somebody as dominant as the BCC going into something where they're selling the group as one of their top factions. Speaking of, the other top faction was immediately cut to after the match, and they cut a promo directly at the BCC, and it was the Hung Bucks, Hangman Page, and the brothers Jackson, who issued a trios challenge to the BCC. Danielson, of course, accepted on their behalf from commentary. It was a quick little video, but it continues the feud between the two top factions. Any real quick thoughts on that? I mean, it was just a little video package.
So, Excalibur announced them as the Hung Bucks.
He did.
Which is Hangman and the Bucks. So we're starting to see that Hung Bucks used. I think that's 2 weeks in a row that Hung Bucks has been used. Wonder if there's going to be a Hung Bucks t-shirt, or there might even be one already. But at the beginning of the interview, Matt Jackson called out Danielson and says, quote, "What's up, bricks?" End quote. I don't know why he said that. And I should have asked in chat, but I haven't had time since I noted this line. And I searched Twitter for bricks. And
No. I think he said pricks with a P. What's up, pricks?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He said, and I was like, well, I guess he could have said pricks. That would be dismissible because I didn't see any mention of it on Twitter. So I'm like, is that an old nickname for Brian?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, if it was anything, it was a basketball term. I used to know because I was a bricklayer. Which means every time I shot the ball, it would hit the rim and bounce off with a very loud boing, because I was shitty.
Yeah, when I wasn't an air baller, I was laying bricks.
Right. So neither of us is very good at basketball. That's why we now commentary on fake wrestling. Anyways. Right. He did say, "What's up, pricks?" because he said, "Oh, Brian, you're on commentary, so you can hear us and see us on your little monitor, and we're on the big screen, so you guys, so the BCC, you guys can see us. What's up, pricks?" That's kind of how that opening went, and I think you definitely misheard, as far as I.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
It just makes more sense.
All right, because I thought he was referring directly to Brian. So. But yeah, pricks is something he would say. So
yeah, exactly. So right after that, they actually moved into a video package for Kenny and Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door 2, which, again, not a match I knew was going to happen, but I'm sure you're a bit happy to see Kenny versus someone like Will Ospreay for the IGP US title.
Yeah, Kenny versus Ospreay was always what my expectation going in. Kenny fought Ospreay in January at the Wrestle Kingdom show, Japan's biggest wrestling show of the year, January 4th, Tokyo Dome. I think they did a gate of 40,000 people, which is pretty huge.
Yeah,
these days for a Tokyo Dome show, and it was one of the best matches I've ever seen. I think Meltzer gave it 6.25 stars, which puts it in the top 5 of his all-time matches. It was a phenomenal match. I've been expecting Kenny Ospreay at Forbidden Door, and then Kenny Ospreay again at All in Wembley, where Ospreay gets to wrestle Kenny in his hometown. However, I think we might not get that at All In. I think Kenny Ospreay 3 might have to wait. But yeah, of course. So I'm, again, as I mentioned earlier on the show, that's why I'm going to Toronto, was to see Kenny Ospreay.
Yep.
And I like when Kenny and Ospreay, before Brawl Out, Kenny and Ospreay fought in a trios match in the tournament for the trios title, and I traveled to Chicago to see that match live, and it was just great to see them compete again. Unfortunately, I was unable to go to Tokyo to see them fight at the beginning of the year. However, I will see them in Toronto in a couple weeks, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, I have not seen a lot of Kenny. That's one of the reasons why I started watching AEW. I have become a big fan of Kenny. Not exactly everything he does in the ring pleases me, but number one, he headed up Fight Forever. So for that, he gets a lot of goodwill. Number two, he's really had fucking phenomenal matches. So I may not like his little run thing, little points. Some of the stuff he does just seems a little goofy, but he's a goofy guy. BTE shows weekly, or when he's on it, that he is a goofy person. And so I have to forgive him a little bit. He is basically a goofy dude who happens to be a professional wrestler and a big video game geek. So it's hard to match that up sometimes in my head, but Kenny could be one of my peers in my gaming group, is what I'm saying, as far as everything except the fact that he's a world-class jock. Minus that, he could fit in my group, I think.
Yeah, he's an elite athlete. He possibly could have had a career as a goalie in the NHL.
Sure.
One of these days, I'm going to try and hunt down some footage of him playing goalie. I don't think it'll be easy to find, but he was an all-star at the semi-pro level in Canada after he graduated. So there's got to be something out there. He's just the fact that he's a gamer, that he abandoned WWF developmental because he wanted to go to Japan and fight, and then he went over to Japan and became the greatest wrestler in the world. I mean, it's just like, I don't know how to put it. Like, he's just like the perfect combination of everything I like about wrestling and gaming. And he's just a very captivating figure, and great matches. His V-trigger is probably the best strike in wrestling history. And I know the cult members are gonna have a heyday with my comment on that.
They hate Twinkle Toes, don't they?
But I mean, I could do a full show on why I'm a Kenny Omega fan and how he's turned me into a huge AEW fan and got me back into wrestling. But
absolutely,
that's for another time.
Absolutely, but again, Kenny, the Bucks, Cody, they put together something that got me intrigued. I was like, okay, you know what? They did sell out 10,000 people. They must have some sort of ability to be good wrestlers. I don't know who the hell this Tony Khan guy is. Let's give it a shot. And it worked out pretty well so far, I'm thinking.
I think it's exceeded expectations. I mean, people say, how they could do a better job booking the show, and AEW is failing, and it's not a serious competitor to WWE. But I mean, they're selling 70,000 tickets in the UK. They're getting additional TV time, which may or may not be a good idea. But
we'll see.
I mean, you can't argue with the promotion success. It's a legit number 2. It's not going anywhere. They're in no danger.
Nope.
And I don't know. I don't really get the wrestling fan that's mad that AEW exists. Like,
it's the unfortunate tribalism that we've fallen into across the board in everything these days.
Yeah.
It seems.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it doesn't have to be like that, but it certainly feels like it sometimes.
It's like I don't like or watch WWE, but it's like I don't need to spend my time like trolling people who post WWE commentary or
Right.
post on. I don't need to watch Raw and then shit on it for 8 hours the next day because my life is empty and I have nothing else going on. And I can't. It's the only way I can get a dopamine hit in my life is pissing on AEW. Like, what is wrong with these people? Anyhow,
we could go on at length about them, but we shan't. Instead, we're going to move on to MJF, who came out and said, "Hey, there's nobody in this company that I haven't beat, and I'm bored." So out came Adam Cole, his next challenger. Nice. Cole is hardly a surprise. We've talked about it in chat a few times. We probably even talked about it on stream a few times. The fact is, Cole is realistically Tony's golden boy. He absolutely loves Adam Cole and will push him to the moon. I don't think Cole wins the title. However, if he does, he could conceivably carry it. He's also a gamer, so I have a little bit of love for Adam Cole in that regard. They had a good back and forth. MJF did, his normal, broke into his history about how he loved Cole, but then he met Cole, and now he hates Cole. Cole got his thing where he got multiple chants against MJF, got him to call him a bunch of different names. Typical stuff against MJF, but intriguing, involved. The crowd loves it, and it makes good television. It ends with the line saying, MJF won't fight him because Adam Cole is better than MJF. And the crowd knows it. And that apparently got MJF mad enough to challenge Cole, who accepted. Match made, new challenger. It was a fun segment, but, not much else to it. What are your thoughts on that, Jay?
My dislike of Adam Cole is kind of goes back to my dislike of HBK. I was never a Shawn Michaels fan. I never thought he was very good in the ring. I thought his overselling was insulting to the industry. I thought he was killing the business with his antics in the ring, overselling and driving the company into bankruptcy, driving WWE into bankruptcy, along with Bret Hart and The Undertaker, because they weren't selling tickets when all three of those guys were there in their prime in the mid-90s. And if Steve Austin didn't show up and bail those three guys out, who knows? Maybe Eric Bischoff would still be running WCW. But anyhow, yeah, Adam Cole isn't the type of guy that I want to see carrying AEW's heavyweight title. He's not the guy that I think should be the top face in the company. However, I will say, when he came out last night, I was disappointed. I'm like, oh God, already? And but on the other hand, I'm kind of like, well, good, because he's not going to win the title right now. MJF's reign is going to go on probably at least until Full Gear. I think that might be when he loses the title, but I think he'll get over a year with his reign. But anyhow, so MJF shreds him. I enjoyed him talking about how he was an Adam Cole fan. I thought it was some brilliant commentary by MJF. It was kind of like what he did with Punk, the same kind of deal. Like,
yep.
And MJF even brought up Punk during this
he did.
segment.
The embargo is gone. He mentioned him.
Yep. And Adam Cole got the mic. I'm like, oh, this is going to be interesting. And I'm like, let's see what he can do here. Because this is his moment. This is Adam Cole's chance to grab that brass ring. And I thought he did a great job. I thought he did an excellent job. I loved how he said, let's go in the back and piss in a cup and see who's natural. Right. I thought that was such a great line. Both of these guys are in tune with what people are saying on Twitter. MJF talking about how everyone talks about how Adam Cole's physique is a joke and he should hit the gym and put down the controller. And then a lot of people, like, MJF is fucking shredded right now. And so people are saying, oh, he's definitely juicing. Who knows? Maybe he is. Maybe he isn't. Well, I don't know. But I love that line.
Cole really did go from the Panama Playboy to the Panama Game Boy. Yes. That was a killer line there.
That was a great line for sure.
Oh my God.
I think that's the Elite Mark Order line of
Clip of the night. Right.
The other thing I thought that Cole did a good job with was saying that nobody respects MJF in the back because he's a selfish prick, and it was like at the end of the interview, I was like ready to pop when he put his hands up and the crowd screamed like Adam Cole, baby. I'm like, yes, I'm ready to go. I want to see these two guys go at it. So
Yeah,
props to Adam Cole. He kind of won me over in that interview, and I gotta say, I'm looking forward to his title challenge against MJF.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is they sold the match with that promo. Great job. Two great promo guys cut a great promo. Maybe not the MJF Punk level, maybe not the MJF Danielson level, but Adam Cole isn't quite at that level. MJF, of course, held his own against all of them.
Right.
Because he is at that level. So I agree. Adam Cole has shown brilliance in the past. He's yet to show it here. He gets a tremendous response. People love him. Tony loves him. Let's see if he can parlay that into some success above and beyond just being a rehash over and over. He's got a great entrance. Where's the rest? So
yeah, his heel work where he has been given the brass ring before in AEW as a heel. He had 2 main event title shots against Hangman Page, and I thought he fell short. And I thought him being given a second shot at Hangman Page brought Hangman's reign down. So
that whole feud brought it down.
Yeah, so we'll see if he can elevate, both himself and MJF here. It's going to be interesting. I think Adam Cole and MJF will match up well in the ring, and I think it'll be good. So who do you think is going to win the Eliminator match? Because they announced later in the night that Adam Cole is getting a singles match against MJF. Non-title Eliminator match.
Champs don't lose.
Tough one.
Champs don't lose. Champs don't lose. Champs don't lose. If you show MJF getting pinned, even non-title, champs don't lose. You're submarining Adam Cole. So there's going to be shenanigans. There's no way MJF allows any sort of clean match. He probably just walks away. They get into it. It turns into a big thing, a big to-do. MJF gives him the countdown win. There's no way there's a satisfying win to the non-title match. Champs don't lose. He's gonna find a way to get automatically DQ'd by kicking Adam Cole in the balls in front of the ref. Whatever it is, I don't know. I don't like that booking. I really don't.
I think that's a good approach here or a good prediction that you make that Adam Cole wins by DQ or count out or something. Adam Cole's not going to pin him. And that will lead to the title shot where MJF defends against Cole. I think that's probably the most likely scenario.
Yeah. I think it makes MJF look weak, so I don't necessarily like it because the champ shouldn't lose.
Do you think we get MJF Cole at Forbidden Door? Or are these guys going to fight someone else? I mean, we only got, 3
MJF doesn't want to fight New Japan talent. He's
made that abundantly clear. However, Tony says he's contractually obligated to fight someone at Forbidden Door. Who's it going to be? I want to see him fight Ishii. I want to see him fight Ishii, but we'll see what happens. If he's on at all.
He could have his out and say, I'll be on the show, but I'll fight Adam Cole. We don't know what sort of shenanigans or politics or power play or whatever story they're going to tell is going to happen. We don't know how that's going to work. But we do know that there's going to be something because it's MJF. So
MJF did say at his presser after Double or Nothing that he loves Great-O Khan. So maybe we'll get a tag match. It'll be Great-O Khan and MJF against Adam Cole and Ishii. Like, that would be a fun as fuck match. I would love to see that.
I mean, you know what? Why don't you go ahead and tweet Tony and pitch that match? Maybe it could be done in 2 weeks. Who knows?
All right.
So after that back and forth between MJF and Cole, after that segment, we had a backstage bit with the Hardys and Isaiah and Ethan Page. So the next segment after that was actually... Did you have anything to say about it?
No.
Okay. So the next segment after that was Hook and Jungle Boy. We covered that at length. It was an amazing, amazing match. And then we got the Tony meme section where he made, thanks guys, pre-recorded announcement about the match at Collision. He really needs to work on his delivery. I hated the way he tried to build suspense. And he announced a big main event as a 6-man tag between... I really don't give a shit. It was Joe and two people, I don't even know who it was, versus Punk and FTR. Oh, yeah. Bullet Club, that's right.
Yeah.
Joe and Bullet Club Gold, that's why I didn't remember them, versus Punk and FTR. And the crowd went mild.
No, you don't want to see CM Punk pin Juice Robinson in the first Collision? Who
doesn't
really want to see
shit?
that?
No. I was like, that is completely missable. I'm still watching, but that is completely missable for first episode. I don't give a shit about that match.
It's my fiance's birthday on the 17th, so I won't be watching Collision on her birthday for sure. I will not.
I will definitely be watching.
It is not worth her wrath.
No.
To watch that shit. I mean, if they had like a real main event, maybe I would watch, and it would be worth whatever punishment I would get. But that's definitely not worth the punishment.
2 hours of that show to get to that main event. Now, I'm not going to kid you. They're putting it on Saturday night at 10. No. It's supposed to be at 8. It's supposed to be at 8. But you see, here in Arizona, we get live shows 3 hours later, but then delayed. So I don't even want to go into how late it's actually on here in Arizona. I watch it and will be watching it Sunday morning, as high as I can be. At 4 a.m. most likely, 4 or 5 a.m. whenever my dog wakes me up to go outside. It's an early morning, do nothing bullshit show that I'm going to fast forward through everything if I'm bored. Collision has so done nothing to make me want to watch other than, hey, it's a new show. Watch it. No.
It's all the guys who nobody else wants to work with.
I'm sorry. I lived through Thunder. I'm not subjecting myself to another Thunder if that's what this turns into. WCW Thunder was the world's worst fucking wrestling show where the top stars refused to show up after the first couple of shows. And nothing ever happened of consequence. Ever. I absolutely refuse. If Collision turns into Thunder, I will never talk about it.
I'm keeping an open mind.
Yeah, okay. I'm still Fight Forever, and I'm still watching Dynamite, but I could give a fuck about Collision right now.
I'm keeping an open mind. However, my expectations are very low.
I'm watching it. And
that's really all. That's all I'm going to say.
I clearly expect fuck all from that 2-hour show.
Yeah, Tony's got a lot of guys I'd like to watch. I mean, you got Billy Starks and you got Nick Wayne coming up. If they're going to have 2-segment matches, those two, I'll watch Collision live every fucking week. If he uses that talent, that young talent, and puts on banger matches with them and lets those get that young talent go, I would love that. But is that going to happen? Or are we going to get fucking, the Hardys against Ethan Page and fucking they're going to bring Vicky Guerrero back to scream for half an hour? Like, I just don't know what to expect. Tony has the talent to make that show awesome. Will he?
We've seen it time and again. He books amazing big show pay-per-views. So the weekly is where we need some help.
Yeah.
And Collision itself is not building up to be anything of consequence. And if so, that sucks because I really want to see Miro. I like that guy. I liked him as Rusev. I watched him on Twitch when he was a face. I like the dude. I think he started to really get into that Redeemer character, really started to sell that character, and it started to get over. And now he's been gone for months. We heard he refused to work. Now he's coming here, there, this, that, the other. Andrade refused to even do the Tony's Door segment. That's how much of a dick Andrade is. So these are the worst of the worst for Toxic Collision. And I'm going to watch it like I would watch a train crash. Which, by the way, I live next to train tracks. So I really don't want to see a train crash. But the fact is, I'm going to watch this like a car crash. I'm going to watch this like Butterbean versus fucking Brawl Out. What was his name? Brawl for All against Jack. No, it was Blackjack Mulligan. Whoever it was. No.
It was one of the Bart Gunn, I think.
Yeah, Bart Gunn. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Just ugly, knock the fuck out kind of thing. Right. I don't expect much from Toxic Collision. We'll see what happens. That's what I'm saying. Anyways, so then we move on to Konosuke Takeshita versus Jobber Guy. They didn't really announce the guy's name. They didn't get any introduction whatsoever. There wasn't. What's that?
I was like, is that Sean Spears?
It was close. It was. It was. It could have been Sean Spears' bad clone. It wasn't a match. Takeshita destroyed him as expected. And then Callis came down to cut his same promo about cutting the elite out of all elite wrestling. So it would just be all wrestling. But he got massive heat. Of course he did. They booed him out the fucking building again. Because that's the segment now. Is hopefully we get into a part where every town tries to boo him as loud as possible. Right. Now, I think that Takeshita might have been hurt by not having music. I think the crowd, when they start to associate his music with him, will give the heat that Callis is trying to give to Takeshita. But right now, Takeshita got silence. This is a crowd that loved Takeshita and wanted to boo him, but didn't know how to react because all the cues of wrestling were mixed up. When Callis showed up, they knew to boo him, though. So
yeah, they fucked up the entrance. They didn't cut away from the announcers. The announcers were like, "All right, move on to the next segment." I think the guys were waiting for the music to hit for their cue to cut to the ring entrance, and Takeshita didn't come out to any music. Whether that was probably intended, as we discussed in the chat room. But AEW is definitely like, why are people getting fired? And because it just seems like they have so many production issues. I mean, I guess it's not that big a deal. Most of the
it really
time
isn't.
Minor shit.
We're nitpickers. We're nitpickers. Yeah. Let's be honest. We're nitpickers. Mistakes happen. It's a live TV show, and these are pros who maybe need a little bit of help and work, and maybe need to practice some here and there. But you're a
fucking billionaire. Figure this shit out. Get the right people. There's people that can do this. Get the right people in place. Spare no expense.
He keeps trying to hire good ones because he doesn't want to just hire any old douchebag. Yeah. I assume, based off of the fundamentals of the company as he's shown to the public.
So the Takeshita match I thought was uneventful. I loved the heat that Callis got afterwards. However, it wasn't that much different than the week before.
Nope.
I loved Takeshita talking in Japanese and screaming shit about Kenny Omega, and just the crowd going crazy booing.
They got the heat on them that they wanted, but it took Callis coming out to get them to react, because then they were like, "Oh, now we know what to do." Again. Not having music, that crowd doesn't quite know how to react sometimes.
Right. And when are we going to get well, first off, when is Kenny going to be on TV again? It's 3 Dynamites. He hasn't been on TV at all, other than like a video clip of him in the ring. Like, he hasn't talked. He hasn't been there live. Like, I don't know if something's going on with Kenny, but I'm starting to wonder, is there something going on? I mean, he looked fine at Double or Nothing, but still, we got 3 Dynamites, no Kenny. Anyhow, that's really all I have to say on that segment. I mean, they're building this up for a Takeshita versus Kenny match at some point.
Yep.
Is it going to be a singles match? That would be amazing. You could go to YouTube and watch Kenny and Takeshita fighting in DDT back in like 2014 when Takeshita was a young boy, when he was like probably 18 or 19. The matches are pretty good. They're not great. They're decent. But you know, if you're a fan of either guy, check those old YouTube DDP Pro matches out. It's good stuff.
Yeah, and realistically, they're going to have a great match. I hope it's one-on-one. It's probably going to be all in, all out. You know, somewhere along those lines, somewhere big. And it should be relatively soon. It might be next Dynamite for all I know. I think keeping Kenny off television in some ways builds up the anticipation of his return because Callis is talking all this mad smack. So that could be the story that they're trying to tell because Kenny was off recruiting. I don't know. Again,
that's right. Yeah, he's still in Japan looking for his friends.
I still give a lot of goodwill towards AEW, so I'm going to let it play out and see where the story's going before I shit on it, just because they've given me such good reason to have such goodwill.
Yeah, there's definitely a case to be made for not overexposing people, but you know, I want to see Kenny on TV. That was
sure.
Kind of like what I was hoping when AEW started was that
you're a huge Kenny fan. It's hardly a surprise you want to see week in, week out of the best wrestler in the world. I don't blame you.
To go a month of Dynamite with him not being on at all, it's like, come on.
When he's technically healthy,
have an interview.
Yeah.
I
don't know. I don't know if it's story. I don't know if there's more. But we want Kenny. Let's start the chant. We want Kenny.
All right.
We want Kenny. All right. So the next segment after Callis boos himself out of the room was Alex Marvez outside of a room that said Christian. So clearly this was a segment for Christian Cage. Inside there was some grunting and some noise. Christian slides out of the room, doesn't let the camera see inside, cuts a quick promo on Arn Anderson, calls out Luchasaurus, and they leave with a lingering shot of poor Brock Anderson, who had been beat down, left with ketchup on his forehead, clutching his stomach as if he'd been hurt. It was kind of lame, to be quite honest.
So I wish Krillin was on for this. I would love to hear Krillin talk because he hates Brock Anderson.
Yeah, he does.
So I would love to hear him ripping on this segment, and Brock Anderson can't even fucking put ketchup on his head, right?
It looked terrible. It really did, especially after things like Vance and the real blood. It's just no. Was that your dad's blood packet from 1982? That thing is expired. So it was just a bad segment. Christian and Luchasaurus, they look fine, but Brock looked like a fucking clown, which I guess is about right. Yeah. We move on quickly to the women's segment because you only get one per night. And the first part of the segment was Chris Statlander versus her first challenger, Anna Jay. Anna Jay came out with Daddy Magic Mark Menard, who is now a male valet for a female wrestler. I think that's about right. He accompanied Anna Jay. They are clearly still associated with the JAS, so I was wrong. She is still doing her little Magic Girl almost Dark Order entrance, except minus, I don't know. She still has no character, really, even though she's a fairly good wrestler. She's just not got the character work down. She needs more help, guys. She comes out to challenge Chris, and I thought it was a pretty good match. I thought that Anna Jay had opportunity to show her toughness. She had a chance to show off some of her moves, and ultimately Chris Statlander was much stronger, much smarter, and a much better recipient of being the champion. Stat looked good. She's tall. She's strong. She's got that whole deaf ASL connection, so I'm sure that's getting an audience. I just want to see her keep winning. I'm happy to see her as champion. Pretty good match. What'd you think?
I thought it was decent. Anna Jay did better than I expected. When she hit the Queen Slayer on Statlander, I was like, oh, is someone going to have to, are we going to need some shenanigans to break this up? But they didn't. Statlander worked her way out of it. They kept her strong. They had Taya in back looking on at the TV all angry. Taya's pissed because, Statlander got to win the title after her match, and it's not fair. So, we're going to get Statlander over Taya soon. I don't know that I'm necessarily looking forward to that, but I'll keep an open mind about it, and maybe they'll put on a decent match.
I mean, it's the opposite of two men slapping man meat.
Yeah, I guess that would be a good way to put it.
It's two ladies slapping lady salami. I don't know what you would call it, but it's two big, strong women. Taya is a damn strong woman, and Chris is really tall, really strong. So I think it's going to be an interesting clash of strong power wrestlers going against each other. Now, we know sometimes that can go bad in a very slow, pondering match, or it could turn into a real freaking banger. So we don't know which way it's going to go. Taya's a real good professional, and Chris Statlander is a really good wrestler. So I'm hoping they have a good match. It's coming up, that's for sure.
Yep. Batten down the hatches.
There were some shenanigans, but ultimately Chris Statlander looked amazing. Right after that, because it is the women's time, was an interview segment with Toni Storm where she hypes her title defense and how she's going to be the strongest AEW women's champion ever. And then she had Ruby Soho right next to her doing her best to hype up her girl. Surprisingly, no Saraya. So I don't know if she's just got the week off with Kenny and they're vacationing in the Bahamas, maybe. And then, of course, they talked about the number one contenders match between Britt Baker, Sky Blue, Mercedes Martinez, and Nyla Rose, which is set for Rampage, which everybody assumes Britt Baker's going to win and therefore go on to face Toni Storm for the title soon. That ends the women's segment. Got anything to say about any of it?
Spoiler alert, Britt doesn't win. And spoiler alert. So you had like a tenth of a second to mute your mic there. But
oops.
If you didn't want the spoiler, I'm sorry, mute your speakers. But yeah.
Whoops.
Whatever. That's all I have to say.
It's Rampage. You know what? Even if Sky Blue won, it doesn't matter. Nyla Rose is probably going to win because that's also another big, strong woman up against the current champion, who is Toni Storm. So who knows? The people who watch spoilers or were there live know. Not the point.
Yeah, it's sad that I read Rampage spoilers just to see if there was anything on the show that's worth watching. But I mean, that's really how far the show has regressed.
Oh, it's bad. There's rarely a time that it's worth my watch anymore, to be quite honest, even though I do watch it Saturday morning, high as a kite. It's just 4 a.m. I don't have a whole lot else going on. Might as well put on Rampage. And then we get into the final match of the night, which was Jay White versus Ricky Starks, where FTR, who apparently are friends with Ricky, were banned. And Jay White was not allowed to have his buddy Juice Robinson ringside. So they had a fairly good match. And at the end, we had the big reveal of the Guns. Apparently, joining Bullet Club. Gold. Are they the Bullet Guns? Is it because bullets need guns to be fired? Is this a sexual thing?
Yeah, I don't really get Tony's love affair with the guns. We had talked in the chat room. I forget who posted saying that the Guns were going to join Bullet Club, and I was kind of like, if they're going to act like badasses, I'm okay with it. But if they're acting like stupid goofs, that I'm just not interested in watching that at all. So we'll see what they do with them. Again, it's almost like my theme of the night is I'll keep an open mind about that to see what they do. If they do join Bullet Club Gold, can they act like badasses, or are they just going to be annoying heels? I just did not I'm just not interested in watching them play the annoying hero role. They're not good at it. They're not annoying. It's go away heat. It's just taxing to watch. So
Lawyer Scott chimes in with the Guns are just devoid of any depth of character. And that's really what it comes down to. They're heels for the sake of heels. They don't have motivations. They had some daddy issues against the Acclaim. That was a bit of a story. But they don't really have... I don't know. They're just not interesting. They're dull. They should probably go... I don't know. Go to ROH.
They're not good enough in the ring to have... They're not on the level of the Lucha Brothers or the Bucks or FTR. They're not even close.
No.
If all those teams are like 9s or 10s out of 10s as far as their ability, the Guns are like at a 2 or a 3. The only reason they're employed is because their father is who he is. And, they were given the tag titles. They were re-signed. They had their contracts extended. And now they're in fucking Bullet Club. It's like, when is enough? So it's like, it's like last chance here. Like, they really need to step it up, or I'm going to really, it's going to be fast forwarding their shit.
Here's the thing. The Firm brought in to go up against Punk. Punk disappears. They flounder. The Guns were a part of that. They separated from the Firm, got their tag runs, and now they're immediately in another group. We're going to try to get them over because they absolutely have not gotten over at all. They tried to spoil a match that was already boring. I'm sorry. That was a terrible match, no matter how good Jay White might be, no matter how good Ricky Starks might be. There was no chance Starks was going to win. There was always, everybody knew going in, there was going to be shenanigans because that's what heels do. That's what heel factions do. What a surprise, that's what they did. They brought in probably the worst tag team, the fucking Guns. Can they make them badass? Maybe. But Juice Robinson isn't badass.
Juice can be, but...
Can be! Is not.
He needs the right opponents, and he needs to color coordinate. As I said last week with Krillin, you're in Bullet Club Gold, wear black and gold, don't wear fucking neon green or whatever the hell. Color coordinate so you look like a faction. Anyhow, Jay White.
I think you have a good point. I think they do need some sort of gear so they can come out all wearing their BCG Bullet Club Gold shirts. And maybe now that there's 4 of them, they can do that.
Yeah, it'll look badass. Black and gold, just do it.
Because if they wear just t-shirts, the Guns might not be so totally annoying. That little fucking, I have a strip across my chest and just arms that the tall one wears. I don't know about their fashion choices. I'd rather see them in just a plain black shirt with a gold Bullet Club. Maybe that would be okay.
Which one is the tall one? Austin?
I don't fucking know. It's Austin.
It's Austin.
It's Austin.
And who's the other one?
Colton,
that's right. All right. Anyhow, so Jay White, Ricky Starks. On paper, you have Jay White, who's main eventing Tokyo Dome, having killer matches with Okada that were 5 stars, having... I don't know if Jay White had any other 5-star matches in New Japan against anyone other than Okada. I'm actually going to check this real quick. So match guide.
So while you're looking that up, Lawyer Scott had a very good point to bring up. And that's the fact that the fucking Guns were 30-0 in trios matches with their father.
Yeah, all Rampage. Yep.
30 and not even Rampage. Most of it
dark.
Was dark.
It was all dark. All dark is what I meant to say. Yeah.
And 30-0 with their dad, and only because their dad was in there. And yeah, they're the best example of nepotism in AEW. Thank you, Lawyer Scott. You absolutely have that covered. There's no doubt here on nepotism. There's nobody else who's clearly close to that level except possibly Brock, who really should not be on their show except to be destroyed as he has been. Anyways, have you looked up the data you were looking for?
Oh yeah. So Jay White has had 2 5-star matches, both against Kota Ibushi. Both, I believe, were at Wrestle Kingdom for the IWGP Heavyweight title. I think he won the first one and lost the second one. He's also had a bunch of 4.5 or 4 3/4 star matches. One of them is against Will Ospreay in ROH from 2017. So that one I definitely was unaware of. I have to go back and watch that one. I will check that out. But yeah, his other high-rated matches are against Okada, Ishii. I thought he had, and then there's one against Shingo Takagi, Naito. Basically when you see those names, it's if you're halfway decent, you can get a high-rated match against those guys because they're the best in the strong style of wrestling that Dave Meltzer likes, who gives those ratings. So.
Right.
So back to the match, it had potential to be a good match. Ricky Starks is talented. I'm not a big fan because he's inconsistent. And Ricky Starks was fucking awful in this match. He was walking around outside the ring, looking under the apron for something. I don't know what he was looking for. I don't think he ever he did pull a chair out from under the ring at one point. Did he really waste a minute of the match looking for a fucking chair under the ring that wasn't really used for anything when there's chairs all around ringside? And then he went and he took the steps and he flipped the steps over. He didn't do anything with him. It was what the hell is Ricky Starks doing?
Here's the thing. The step I want to talk about the steps for just 1 second because Jay White tried to fuck with it too.
He did. He put him back. It was
no. It looked like to me that they actually had it chained up or something, and Ricky tried to lift it. And it pulled on it, so it just sort of flipped over. And then when Jay tried to pick it up, it also just flipped right back into place. It was it was not bolted, but there was some sort of wire or something that held it down. So when they tried to lift it, because nobody thought they were going to lift the stairs during the match, it just flipped over. Or those are 2 of the weakest men in the world because those fucking stairs are aluminum. They're not that heavy.
I mean, you guys are in the main event. You got basically 10 minutes of TV time, excluding the commercial break. I mean, the match went 13 minutes, but it was really disappointing. I did enjoy the ending. They did recover, but it wasn't enough to get the match over with me, or I don't even think the fans, before the Guns came out and fucked everything up. But Jay White is really good at exchanging finishers and reversing finishers and worming their way out of finishers and exchanging finishers. Jay White is really good with that stuff. He's with Cody, his matches against Cody and Kenny and Okada.
Yeah, you can see it. Yeah, absolutely.
And Ibushi, he's really good at the end of the match. Jay White in the last 2 minutes of the match, Jay White can be excellent. The rest of his work, it's not elite, but generally the last 2 minutes of a Jay White match are really good because he's one of the best. But it was just disappointing that these 2 guys were given a huge opportunity to main event Dynamite. Two of the bigger stars that are trying to be pushed, and they fell flat. The Guns didn't fucking help. The Guns destroyed whatever was left for this match of having any hope of being good. So yeah, it's just too bad and unfortunate that A, the booking sucked, and B, these 2 guys, basically had a shitty match based on their standards.
I mean, realistically, it was a very shitty match, and there was really not a lot to get behind. Lawyer Scott with a great comment coming in. It was the opposite of what happened with OC and Swerve. They brought each other down. They actually dragged each other to a lower status with that shit bed shitting performance. He didn't use the term bed shitting. That's all me. Right. But the fact is, it was the worst main event. I'm interested to see what the quarterlies were because good God, there's nobody watching at the end of match shitting. Yes, Scott. There was nobody watching the end of that match. There's no reason to watch the end of that match. The only reason I watched that match was to see who was going to join Bullet Club.
Right.
And the payoff was the Guns.
Yeah.
I mean, the Guns.
So does Tony Khan get the idiot ball for booking the Guns to be part of
if we're gonna do an idiot ball spot, and that is starting to intrigue me, don't get me wrong. I do think that some of the booking this week may very well qualify Tony for for the idiot ball, because some of the shittiest booking really has happened with the Guns, with some of I hate the fact that he only gives women one segment. I'm really starting to dislike that. It's just, in general, he started off really strong. This is like AEW. Starts off really, really fucking strong, but then sort of stumbles a little bit at the end. Recovers again by the next week. It starts off really, really strong, but then stumbles a little bit at the end. Some of the stories in AEW started to follow that trend a little bit. And so some of the weak finishes, like the exploding barbed wire death match, is a great example of a shit ending to what could have been a massive feud. And so it's starting to feel like there's a little bit of clay feet when it comes to some of the endings of these feuds. And I hope that it's not a trend that we see more of.
Yeah, I mean, we can't have a Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley in a cage match closing out the show every week.
Right.
However, if you're going to have the Guns coming out and interfering in a match, I don't know. Maybe mix up the card a little bit. I feel like this week and last week, the shows both started, and the first hour was excellent, and the second hour fell off. But all in all, I thought the show was above average. Every match had meaning. We got to see the debut of Damon Ace on AEW against Takeshita.
Right, yes, the Sean Spears' stand-in.
Yeah. So he doesn't even have a cage match profile. It
was his stunt double.
Or maybe he's like the third Gun Kid. I don't know.
He was too pretty for a gun.
But Orange Cassidy, Swerve Strickland, and the Hook and Jungle Boy against LFI were both outstanding and made the show worthwhile. And just the announcement of Okada versus Bryan Danielson.
There you go.
And confirming Kenny versus Ospreay at Forbidden Door in a few weeks.
It's going to be an amazing summer.
There's a lot to be excited about.
There's an amazing summer ahead of us. There's going to be Fight Forever. There's going to be at least one or two tournaments. If we get crossplay, there's at least one tournament in here in this Discord that we will be running, at least one. In the other Discord,
more than one.
I'm saying at least one.
Yeah.
In the other Discord, guaranteed there's going to be at least one of the actual official AEW Games tournament of fans that we will be able to prove to the world the Elite Mark will take over that tournament.
Have they announced anything like that over there?
No, I convinced Zaidi a few months ago, and we're going to make it happen because another person, as far as I can tell, between all of his characters, his name's Sway Casanova. He seems all right. Yep. And he was talking about running a big tournament. So obviously, if crossplay's enabled, tournaments are going to be big for people. So, we should tap into some of that. We definitely will have some, at least one. At least one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have way more than one. We'll have all kinds of shit going on. So
big summer.
I'm going to be 3 days behind on the release, but it won't take me long to catch up. And Fight Forever stuff's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome for the Elite Mark Order.
There you go.
I can't wait.
Absolutely. Well, go ahead and that wraps up the show. Thank you so much for listening. If you're still with us, go ahead and, if you haven't already, join us in the Discord. You can go to EliteMarkOrder.com, click on Join the Discord. We would love to hear your comments down below. Anything you want to talk about, we want to hear it. Even you trolls who love Cornette. And that is going to be it. JJ for life.